EU bureaucracy. For some of us, that's why we're getting out, aren't we? Well, the Dutch Prime Minister says he cannot intellectually understand the UK's decision to leave the EU. He obviously thinks it's a good thing to stay in then. His transport workers don't think so though. Hello, my name's Tony, and if this is your first time to this channel, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to place your opinions below and get involved in making a change. With the introductions out of the way, let's get straight on with it. Mr. Rutte, and if I pronounced that name wrong, I do apologise, the Dutch Prime Minister has been singing the praises of Theresa May. He says, I guess she's holding her cards close to her heart at the moment. I don't know where that is. This is probably a wise negotiating tactic. It's now for the UK to make up its mind and together collectively to see where we can get to. Friday showed all of us we should not underestimate Theresa May. She's a formidable politician who doesn't seem though to have the backing of many of her own party. But as I said at the top, he doesn't intellectually understand why we are leaving, but does he intellectually understand that the EU plans to force the Netherlands to fully liberalise bus services that could see a push down of drivers' pay and leave rural parts of the country without public transport? That's according to the Trade Union Federation CMV. Brussels apparently want to open the European bus market to all corners without including a requirement to operate loss-making routes. This is what the CMV says, but the CMV, who happen to be the country's second biggest union federation, says that means that remote villages could be left without buses as foreign firms take over money-making routes but don't use their profits to subsidise loss-making services. Once again, we have the possible onset of firms coming in, making as much money as they can for dividends to be paid out to shareholders and not worry about the level of service. Now, I've seen that happen somewhere before. I can't for the life of me think where. They also add to this, bus firms such as Flixbus, WeBus and Eurolines will then be able to cherry pick from the Dutch public transport market. Brussels is creating a race to bottom, which will hurt both Dutch drivers and passengers. Now, I've seen that happen somewhere before too. But the Dutch Prime Minister says intellectually it doesn't make any sense to leave the EU. The EU are due to debate on the subject of opening up transport pretty soon. But lo and behold, other people and other countries, it seems, actually intellectually do understand the bureaucracy of the EU. Step forward, Foreign Minister Bert Koenders. Now, if I said that name wrong, I'm sorry for that as well. He says that his government will push for EU dictatorship, my words, to be slimmed down once we have officially left in 2019. He seems to think that Britain leaving would result in a drop in workload for office workers in Brussels, which would mean other member states could in turn save cash by cutting red tape. Now, there are currently, believe it or not, a workforce in the Commission that amounts to 32,546 people. And you might be pleased to know, reports suggest people working for the EU happen to enjoy enormous pay packets and perks compared to ordinary workers, including bumper pensions, incredibly low income tax rates, and believe it or not, free childcare. Beautiful. Reports suggest these luxuries, though, could now be under threat because of us leaving. Where is the money coming from to pay for it all? Well, after all, Britain is the second largest net contributor and accounts for 13% of its budget. And Mr. Koenders also added, but it's always true that when you have less work, you need less people, and that's very true. Could be some people up for the chop, I think. And us, Britain, we're not alone in all of this Brexit fiasco. The Netherlands are actually part of a club, if you will, made up of three like-minded countries, the other one being Denmark and Ireland, of course, who have come together to try and ensure that the Brexit talks end in a good trading deal, and that's good. And would you believe, many reports actually insist that Prime Minister Mark Rutte, a centre-right Conservative, has actually expressed many frustrations with the EU project familiar to British voters. Does not intellectually understand. Dear oh dear. And also, apparently, Austria is another big net contributor, and they now have also moved very swiftly to make sure that the case for slimming down Brussels post-Brexit is given plenty of focus. But most surprisingly, Vienna has come out and almost insisted it will refuse point blank to pay a penny more into the budget to cover the black hole caused by Britain's departure, and they say the money must be found through efficiency savings instead. Which brings me back to the staffing. Will Juncker cut numbers if he has to? Or will he feed the cost down to the remaining members in order just to maintain, in my opinion, the European dictatorship? It really does seem the EU Commission is losing its grip. Can we see maybe in about 10, 15 or even 20 years the EU will actually be just a lonesome stranger trying to hang on to its power? How do you think it's going? Can you see the EU out on a limb in years to come? How much faith do you have in government in getting us a good deal? Don't forget to subscribe and place your comments below if you want to get involved and work towards making changes. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.